Dismissive avoidants will often discard a partner when everything is going wonderfully. Things couldn't seem more perfect. Maybe you just met their family and they love you, and they met your family and your family loved them. You have future plans together. Maybe you were even in the process of getting a house together. You just went on a wonderful vacation or holiday. You had the trip and the time of your lives. You had romantic dinner. You had a wonderful weekend. Everything seemed perfect. This person was giving you very sweet romantic gestures, telling you things like nobody had ever made them feel the way that you make them feel, that they are so incredibly lucky to have found you. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they're shut down. They're cold, they're distant, their eyes almost have like this dead look, like they're just not home anymore. And they're telling you, I can't give you what you need. I'm just not ready for a relationship right now. I need time and space to heal. Or even worse, the spark is gone. I don't know, but it just feels gone, and I can't seem to find my feelings, and I know I shouldn't feel this way, but I just do. And that's it. You are given no coherent explanation, and the relationship is over, and the rug is pulled from under your feet, and that's it. You're just blindsided and shattered, and this person walks away seemingly unaffected, and here you are trying to pick up the pieces of your broken heart and figure out what you did wrong. Well, first of all, it's not anything you did wrong. This is a person that has a very specific set of fears. Dismissive avoidants fear abandonment. That is the most important fear they have, but it lies in the subconscious. Many of them aren't even aware that they fear it. They fear rejection, they fear conflict, and they fear engulfment, which is losing themselves in a relationship. It all ties into the fear of abandonment, and it all goes back to childhood. This is a person who was emotionally neglected by their parents or caretakers. They weren't given the love and the nurturing in the way that they needed. They often grew up in households where you just didn't talk about emotions. Feelings weren't discussed, and negative feelings were definitely dismissed, rejected, or even reprimanded. So what they learned is, A, their emotions, they don't count. No one wants to see their emotions. That if they do express emotions, it just inconveniences others. And B, emotional intimacy is unsafe because they were supposed to be able to rely on their parents or caretakers for emotional closeness, and they couldn't do it. So now that the relationship as an adult is going well, emotional intimacy is building. And emotional intimacy absolutely frightens a dismissive avoidant. On one hand, they want it, but when they get it, it scares them. Because now they have to be vulnerable with somebody, and being vulnerable equals abandonment. That's what they learned in childhood. They also really, really fear conflict because they weren't able to express themselves as a child. So maybe there was a tiny, slight disagreement in the relationship that seemed like not a big deal to you. But to the dismissive avoidant, it is insurmountable. Any disagreement means that you're fundamentally incompatible. And if you put any expectations on them, well, now that triggers the fears of them losing themselves because you are trying to control them by having them show up in a certain way for you, even if it's just very basic expectations like, hey, let me know when you get home, things like that. Now, it can come out of nowhere because this event that triggered them, essentially what it did is it signified that this is a real relationship. It clicked in the avoidant's mind. It's no longer a fantasy. It is a real relationship with real commitment and real emotional intimacy. That's what caused them to rapidly shut down and discard their partner. Early in the relationship, it is the shared fantasy. It's a fantasy. It's a fairy tale, a romance novel, a movie. It is not real. The dismissive avoidant is riding that dopamine wave. They're feeling good and they're letting up all these bottled emotions pour out right onto you. But When something happens that triggers that feeling, like it's not a fantasy, it's real, there's real vulnerability at stake here, they shut down to protect themselves. They deactivate. They take their feelings for their partner, they bury them. They don't allow themselves to access their own feelings. And they don't reflect on this. They don't reflect on their fears. That's why they often don't know why the spark is gone or why they feel this way. They just feel the urge to do it. They get the feeling, they get the strong emotion, the fear, and they act on it. The thing is they learn to avoid reflecting on it, avoid processing the emotions, avoid confronting their fears in any way, shape, or form. They just go with it. Now, this is why they can't give you a coherent answer as to why they're discarding you. Think about it this way. If you refuse to reflect on your emotions, if you refuse to think about them, how can you possibly articulate them to another person in any coherent manner? You can't. And that's why the dismissive avoidant can't when they are abruptly discarding you. It's a very painful experience. But this happens when they have a partner that actually is something special. A person that is starting to make them feel things. And those things that they begin to feel are what scares them, because they mean, oh, I have to open up my heart and I could potentially get hurt by this person because this person's better than I deserve. They'll figure it out, so I might as well protect myself now. There's kind of logic behind it, even though it's all emotion driven, and it's driven by emotions that the dismissive avoidant refuses to think about. But it certainly is not a reflection of you. It's not that you did things wrong, it's that you did them right. You showed up as a good partner, and that is precisely what triggers a dismissive avoidant. Don't beat yourself up. You weren't back in their childhood. You didn't cause those unhealed attachment wounds. You were consistent, you were loving, you were emotionally available for them. That's nothing to hang your head in shame about. Now, you wouldn't have done this to them. So remind yourself, you didn't deserve to be blindsided like this. You didn't deserve it.